toasting, joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
That sounds like a party just about to begin,
ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. I am so glad you have joined us because we're on show number 347.
That is halfway to 400.
That's
right
what
there.
I was
I've
just
done the
about.
math. So
I was just about to point that out.
I put it on my calculator.
Yeah, I was just about to point that out. You have joined us for the halfway to 400 show.
I believe it's half if you do it as a reverse logarithm. I'm sure that exists.
Is that advanced AP math?
That's exactly what it is. Except, I think somehow
I went to school in the country.
Yeah, and I know they may not be teaching that advanced math anymore, though, because I think there are some people who believe that it contains critical race theory, and of course that would mean that it can't be taught at school. So.
I learned it. I learned it doing Math Rock.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm telling you, I learned all about the government and math and all that stuff from all those Saturday morning
Just a
cartoon
bill.
things. Yeah, just a bill.
You know how many history tests I passed just by listening to Iron Maiden?
Dude, that is so true. That is so true right there. Well, welcome to the show. We are thrilled to have you on board as we talk about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars and do some sampling of said items. And on today's show, we'll be talking about the best dark ales that money can buy.
I love it.
Interesting list. We'll see what you
Like,
think of
that's
the list.
clickbait for me.
Yeah, I knew. In fact, I was just hoping that
I don't even need a right now or you won't believe what happened or any of that stuff. Like,
yeah, we tried dark ales, and you won't believe what happened. Right. I'm holding my side laughing at all the dark ales that we tried. No, it should be great fun. Looking forward to talking about that. And we have a dark ale that we will try as well today. Well, actually, technically, no. I didn't line this up properly. It's technically a lager, not an ale. But from Klaus Brewing Company, we'll be trying their Dunkel, the Munich-style dark lager. And you probably tried that before because I know you're a fan of the Klaus.
I'm a fan of the Klaus. I don't think they have an IPA in the entire building.
I don't think they have anything
It's
that isn't
all
like
German
a
style.
Pilsner or lager ale or something.
What a
but
cool
it's all German
place,
style.
too. They always have a good food truck out there, a nice little patio you can smoke a cigar on. It's a nice little spot. I've heard.
Yeah, of course. Well, let me know if you ever go try it out. From Equilibrium Brewery in Middletown, New York, we'll be trying their Super Fractal Julia Set Triple IPA.
That's a lot of names.
Super Fractal Julia Set. I don't know what that means. We'll get into it. And then, Ian, I didn't want you to feel left out, since we're trying a triple IPA. And I know you're getting the dark Munich style dark lager, but I don't want you to be left out. So I'm inclusive. That's the way I try to approach things.
All right.
So I brought for you to try, and me as well, from Bottle Logic Brewing in Anaheim, California, their Collective Comprehension. It is a coconut barley wine.
Dude, that sounds awesome.
Doesn't that sound good? All right.
I mean,
all right.
I like coconut. I really like barley wine.
And then, right, exactly. So I'm hoping, I've got my fingers crossed this is going to be a good one. And then we have a little whiskey from Orlando, Florida. It was actually sourced from MGP in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. But the company that bottles it and distributes it is out of Orlando. They are called Hooten Young.
Hooten Young.
And we will be trying Hooten Young's 6-year limited edition Zinfandel Cask finish American whiskey.
Can't wait to try it. I have met both Hooten and Young.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Well, they do cigars.
Yes.
So Hooten Young, they do whiskey and cigars.
I've had one of their cigars, and we chatted with them at the Whiskey Social last year for a bit.
Yes.
They were out there at the cigar tent.
And this wasn't the whiskey they had there, but I do remember trying their whiskey.
Right,
It was
right.
quite good. Yeah. So looking forward to checking that out as well. We'll tell you about some cigars to watch for. Just when you thought it was safe to smoke again, Pennsylvania is proposing a new law that could be just really ridiculously confining for cigar lovers.
Are they going the California route?
They're going. Well, I'll tell you about it. It's pretty extreme what they're proposing.
It's crazy.
It's like no smoking in cigar stores, cigar lounges, anywhere. It's like
What?
basically no smoking anywhere.
That's outrageous.
Yeah, just when you thought like we were past all this crazy legislation. So we'll tell you about that. Like I said, we got some cigars to watch for, and also very interesting. Did we talk about Cigar Aficionado's 14 great cigars for $8 or less? Did we? I don't think we did that one last week.
I don't think
we did a lot of
either.
lists last week.
We did some lists last week. We can look it up, though.
Yeah, we were talking about some of the best. Anyway, we'll get to that, and of course, we'll have the most popular segment of the program, with a little thing we like to call Drinking News, and our Drinking News teaser headline for this week's show: Drop It Like It's Hot. That's such a great song, too. That's like my favorite Snoop song. Drop It Like It's Hot. That's just so good. It's just perfect vintage Snoop Dogg, who's a lover of cigars himself, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a cigar dude. So a lot to talk about. Speaking of cigars, I was wondering if you had the opportunity this week to smoke anything interesting, sir.
Funny you should ask.
Yeah.
It's actually not funny. You usually ask, so
Yeah,
that's a good
it's really not that unexpected, is it?
But I like to act surprised every single time I get a chance.
Oh, well, as a matter of fact, I did. Yeah.
Why, yes.
Now that you mention it.
Thanks for noticing. Foundation has a cigar that I hadn't tried. The Menelik. Menelik.
Okay.
I don't know what that means.
I don't
have no idea. But when you pull it up on the Foundation website, it says "Son of Wise Man."
Oh, I like that already.
So if you're not familiar with the Guyanese Wise Man,
Right.
that's one of the Foundation cigars. This was a Robusto coming in at 4.5 by 50 with a San Andreas wrapper, Corojo binder, Nicaraguan filler. Beautiful medium brown wrapper, smooth and oily. Very few veins overall. Gentle box press with a single band on it. The pre-light sniff on this, earthy and sweet, coffee, chocolate, barnyard, fermented hay. I mean, it had a lot going on just on the nose. Mm-hmm. I have the ever-sinking chair, by the way.
Oh, okay. We'll swap it out during the break. But yeah, if you're bouncing up and down a little, we'll
fix that
understand
later.
why. Gotcha.
The pre-lights, the pre-light draw on this. I used a V-cut. It had a light draw, spicy and sweet, coffee and mocha pepper. I put pre-light sniff twice instead of pre-light draw. That's why it tripped me up there.
Understood.
The initial light on this, Nicaraguan pepper blast, my friend, with a twist.
Yeah.
It was Nicaraguan pepper blast and sweet.
Oh.
Which was really, really interesting. Massive smoke coming out of this thing. Immediately, charred toast and oak. Retrohale is woody and pepper. The first third of this is big. Full-strength cigar right off the bat. Sweet pepper bomb. Notes of black pepper, oak, fermented hay, mocha, and coffee. Underlying nuttiness and salty meat broth. Retrohale is full-strength pepper and sweet nuttiness. Solid ash. Perfect burn. The second third of this, full-bodied and bold yet complex, meaty broth and underlying sweetness go on and on and on. The levels of spice and dark fruit keep kind of floating in and out throughout this. Dark fruit was something that popped up around the second third of this and didn't happen at the first part. It's really interesting. The retrohale is woody and sweet pepper, solid ash, perfect burn. The last third of this, not a whole lot left to say about this cigar. Bold and spicy, sweet and earthy. Retrohale is wood and pepper. Solid ash, perfect burn. This little guy comes in at $13.50. It's a pretty expensive cigar.
For a Robusto, yes.
For a Robusto, 4.5 by 50. That's pricey. It did, however, burn for easily an hour.
Well, that's good.
Easily. Like it burned, and it burned
wasn't like
huge smoke.
Yeah.
So, like, you felt like you were getting your money's worth out of this thing. I gave it a solid 5. It's fantastic.
And what was the price again?
$13.50.
Okay.
Solid 5. You're getting everything you're paying for, even though it's a small cigar, will smoke for a long time.
Right. As long
And
as
if
you
you
get some
like
good
big and
smoke
bold
time out of it.
cigars, man, try this one. It's really, really good. This is right up your alley.
Well, we're both talking big and bold this week because I want to tell you about the cigar that I smoked this week. And, Ian, I just want to say, I hope that you are ready to ride the lightning with me as I tell you about my cigar. Okay?
I feel like I know where we're going with
I
this.
smoked the Drew Estate Blackened M81 Corona Doble, which, of course, is Metallica involved. And so how did Metallica wind up getting involved in cigars? Well, when the band's friend and our friend of the show, an original distiller of Blackened whiskey, Dave Pickerel, passed away, Metallica brought in Rob Dietrich, formerly of Tin Cup and Stranahan's, to take over the whiskey range. Now, Dietrich and James Hetfield proceeded to become cigar buddies. And Hetfield was, of course, the guitar player for Metallica.
Right.
James Hetfield was introduced to Dietrich's friend, Jonathan Drew, of Drew Estate. And the idea for Blackened cigars was born.
That sounds awesome.
Now, Blackened cigars are not actually black, but as you'll see in the picture over here, they are a dark shade of Maduro brown, and it's all about Maduro with the Blackened cigars. The Corona Doble that I smoked looked very rock and roll, a little rustic, with plenty of visible veins, but oily and delicious looking all the same. Now, the cigar is rolled with a Mexican San Andres Maduro wrapper, a broadleaf binder from the Connecticut River Valley, and filler that includes Nicaraguan tobaccos and a varietal called Pennsylvania Green River One Sucker. I did not make that up. And that's one of the strongest types of tobacco used in cigars. So the pre-light aromas on the M81 were not as pronounced as I expected, but I did get a hint of pepper and some dark fruit. I decided it was time to hit the lights and jump in the fire. So I used a punch and I lit the cigar, which immediately went all Inner Sandman on me and hit me with a pretty substantial Nicaraguan pepper blast. Deep earth notes accompanied the pepper in the first third, along with dark fruit and a subtle nuttiness that took me a while to notice, actually. The burn was razor straight. The ash held on for well over 1 inch. 1 inch.
Well, I got it.
The second third added a note of wood to the mix, while still holding on to the strong pepper flavoring that was dominant, as if it were just saying, don't tread on me. You know what I mean? So now there were some other mixed spice notes that made themselves known, but I got to say the pepper was the hero of the day. Now, I had read reviews that seemed to indicate the strength of the M81 was more on the medium side, but the one that I smoked, from the very beginning to the final third, challenged me to ride the lightning of full-bodied and full-flavored with no remorse. That's what I'm saying. Last third continued with black pepper. Of course it was black, right?
Right.
As the primary note, the master of puppets, if you will, but with plenty of complex Maduro sweetness underpinning it to the very end. Construction was damn near perfect. You'll see how good the burn is in some of these photos. And I took this 7x50 cigar all the way to the nub. I was enjoying it that much. As strong as it was, and with as much pepper as it had, it never got one-dimensional. So yes, it's big. Yes, it's strong. But I like that.
So it never faded to black?
Yeah, no. Just as in life, in cigars, just as in life, beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
You had no.
There it is.
The Blackened.
That's 10.
The Blackened M81 Double Corona is a $10 to $11 cigar, and in my estimation, if you like them big and bold, then this one is the hero of the day. Recommended for bold smoke lovers only, and a solid 5 price to quality. If this experience, if any experience really was enjoyable as this one was, I think it's safe to say that nothing else matters. And I will enjoy the Blackened M81 from now on, wherever I may roam.
Oh, that's 12. That's 12
that's-
Metallica references.
Wow.
Good job.
That's it for my review. I will now go to break, or fade to black, as it were. And I appreciate the chance. No, it was a really good cigar. But
You
it
have
was
no
good.
saint anger
Loved
toward
it.
that cigar.
None whatsoever. I was trying to figure out how to work what is it, Voxy Turner, or whatever that title from the latest, but I couldn't make that one work at all. So
I don't know if you remember my review, but we may have to post that.
okay. Oh, did you do this too? Oh, I don't remember your review. Okay, we'll be back and talk about the similarities between the reviews next on Smoking and Toasting. Well, welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And just so you know, every now and then we have some interesting coincidences that happen on the show. There have been, I think, a couple of times where you and I, not knowing what the other was
we
going to
never
talk
talk
about
that.
Cigar-wise, wound up smoking the same cigar. But in this case, you smoked one of Metallica's Blackens and talk about it on the show.
So I did.
back
I
in
did my
January.
review on January 30th.
And I think I just plagiarized you in a big way. And I didn't really, honest to God, I didn't realize.
That's why I was cracking up, and I was counting the references because mine started off with the initial light. I said, "Give me fuel, give me fire, give me a light for my cigar."
Okay, see, so you took it slightly different.
And then I said, instead of the first third, it was set one.
Okay, yeah,
And
that's
it
good.
was welcome home to this Maduro collaboration, blah, 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 jumping into the fire with a battery of rich Maduro notes, including Unforgiven Coffee, Harvester of Chocolate, Ride the Pepper, and To Live is to Cedar.
Oh, I love that. That's really good. That's
Retro
really
Ale is Trapped Under Earth, Creeping Pepper, Solid Ash, Perfect Burn.
Wow.
That's just the first third of it. Yeah, it was pretty funny that we kind of went the same direction with that.
I just the one I was proudest of, the reference I was proudest of in mine, it was when I said, "After all, in cigars, just as in life, beauty is in the eye of the beholder."
That was pretty good.
I was. How are you going to work that into a cigar review,
yes,
huh?
yes.
That's all I'm asking. So.
Set 2 started off with Master of Pepper and the Coffee That Should Not Be.
Oh, that's really good. See, that's really
Followed
good.
by Chocolate Messiah and
Yeah.
Holier Than Cedar.
Yeah, but
Because
not.
if you ever work with cedar, it's got a lot of nuts in it.
There were a few. There were a few that I really wanted to work into my review, but I just couldn't figure out. Ain't My Bitch, I couldn't figure that out, where that would go. I really couldn't figure out Kill 'Em All. I wanted to find a way, but I couldn't work it in. And of course, then what is it, Lux Eterna, the track off the latest Metallica album? Is that what it's called?
I also incorporated Fight Fire with Cedar and The Pepper Within.
The Pepper Within is good.
The Frayed Ends of Leather.
Yeah, Lux Eterna is the one that I was thinking of. Yeah, fascinating. If Darkness Had a Sun, that would have been a good one.
I did,
too.
however, put As My Cigar Fades to Ash.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. See,
That
that's
was in there,
see,
yeah.
well, at least we went kind of different directions with the Metallica references. At least I got that going for me. At least so.
Good job, man. Good job.
Yeah, that's all very interesting. So, all right. So let's talk about very briefly because we have just a moment left. Let's talk about this Pennsylvania. Well, no. First, let's talk about something about it. We may need more time than we have in this break to talk about
gonna
the
have to talk
Pennsylvania thing. But I did want to say that I'm excited about Buffalo Trace because they are opening a distillery in London,
Oh,
which I thought was really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, because if you think about it, American whiskey has really become a thing. I mean, over the past, 3 decades, basically, American whiskey has really become a thing. Now, you can think about American whiskey like Jack Daniels and stuff. Obviously, has been a thing for a while, but not in the, super premium, small batch
Right.
kind of thing. And American whiskey, just like American craft beer, has kind of risen up and become a thing. So to be opening a distillery in London, I just think that's so
amazing.
cool because the Brits do love their whiskey.
yes.
So it'll be an interesting thing to watch and see how that goes. But thank you, Buffalo Trace, and congratulations for doing your thing on the in the EU. I think that's absolutely awesome, and it gives me another reason to plan a European trip.
Yes.
Yeah. How fun would that
we
be?
need to do a European takeover
Yeah,
for the show.
it would be fun. We could do like a European month, and just do
Ooh, yeah.
shows live from Europe for a month. Wouldn't that be good? We need a sponsor for that.
Patreon
If-
account.
you're right. We should Patreon account get us to Europe, or would that be where we go? Would we maybe rather go to south of the border and go to more cigar places? Or there's so many places to go.
True.
Yeah, including
The Smokin' and Toastin' World Tour.
I love this idea, Terry. You're on it. That's perfect. All right, we'll work on that a little bit, and we'll start our own tasting right here in our own home studio. Coming up next, when we taste Klaus Brewing Company's Dunkel, their Munich-style dark lager. Next.
Nice.
Covered up the guitar part there that was a little flat, I think.
I don't think so.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. In Pennsylvania, I mentioned this earlier, and we'll get into it here. In Pennsylvania, they have decided to start cracking down on indoor smoking, and a representative named Dan Frankel is looking to end some of the loopholes that currently exist that allow smoking in some public places. The Protecting Workers from Secondhand Smoke Act would close loopholes and exemptions, if it passes, on private clubs, hotels, bars that do not serve food, or 15% of sales or fewer is from food, and VFW bars and clubs. Now, first of all, let's just talk about VFW. Is there such a thing as a non-smoke-filled VFW hall? Because I don't think one exists. No. They'd have to just close, right? But secondly, Pennsylvania is one of the few states where you can either be a smoking bar or a non-smoking bar. And most bars, because I lived there for a while, most bars will tell you right at the door whether it's a smoking establishment or a non-smoking
I think that's a smart way to do it because you will have bars that people will go to because it's smoking.
Exactly.
And you'll have bars that people will go to because it's non-smoking.
Absolutely.
I think that's a great choice.
Mm-hmm. What bothers me most about this one, though, they want to exclude it in private clubs. And private clubs would ostensibly mean all cigar lounges and cigar bars.
This is under the guise, and I say guise because this is fully I think total BS. Protecting workers from smoke. Okay, so first off, if you know you're going to work in a smoky environment, maybe don't apply there.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, because it's for people that work there.
Back
At a cigar shop.
If you're allergic to peanuts, you probably don't go to a peanut factory and ask for a job.
Or to one of those Saltgrass Steakhouse places or wherever it is where they put the peanut shells on the floor.
Right. I mean, if you're a vegan, you probably don't work at Salt House.
Yeah, that's right. You probably don't work at the
Saltgrass.
You probably don't work at the butcher shop either.
Yeah, I mean, let's just think about this for a second. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Who the heck goes to a smoky bar and goes, man, I want to work here, but I sure am tired of this smoke.
I remember when smoking bans were first going into effect in bars, and this was 30 years ago, maybe, when this was started to happen. And I said, they're getting it all wrong. I have the perfect solution. Because what was happening is some bars were going out of business because people stopped going there. They'd just go home and smoke or smoke in their car or whatever. They wouldn't go to the bar to have that cocktail after dinner and a drink. And so some of them were going out of business. Some of them were happy. Some of them were very frustrated. I said, look, this should all be real simple, right? The government should just say, okay, we want to discourage smoking in bars and restaurants, right? So every establishment can decide whether or not it's going to be smoking or non-smoking. If you go non-smoking, we'll incentivize you and give you a tax break. If you stay smoking, you don't get the tax break, but you do get the revenue from people who want to go to a place where they can smoke and will be able to. And so you won't get lost revenue from losing the smoking part of your clientele. And then most likely, it would divide up somewhere close to 50-50 would be my guess. And then people who wanted to work in bars, waitresses, bartenders, what have you, you could choose whether you wanted to work for the smoking establishment or the non-smoking establishment, and that's where you'd apply.
That's pretty easy,
That
right?
seems so simple to me, but nobody wanted to do it that way because I think they all get brownie points for being able to say, oh, I oppose smoking. But why are you opposing smoking in private clubs? That's the part I don't get. What part of private club
just protecting my constituents?
You get to tell those people what they can and can't do inside that club?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah, you can get away with a lot in private clubs. So, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, people don't know what's good for them. And so I think that the state has to tell them.
Has to tell you what's good for you.
What's good for
I think that's,
I mean, like, you
that's
don't
probably the
know
case.
how to control your own life.
That's right.
Why would you?
Yeah. And, in fairness to the state, I do know some people that's probably true about. But that's not important right now. What is important is tasting the Munich Dark. This is a dark lager, and it is from one of Ian's favorite breweries. And we continue, by the way, to try to spotlight Texas breweries and ones that are close to home. And this one, for us, is very close to home.
This is close. This is, about, if there's no traffic in Houston, this is about 20 minutes from where we're sitting right now.
And they are a kind of a
if there is
specialty
traffic,
brewery.
it makes it about an hour and 20 minutes.
Exactly. But this is kind of a specialty brewery because they really stay in the German-themed.
I think their slogan is Texas, brewed in Texas with a German soul. I think
Something like that,
something
yep.
like that when you walk in.
Yeah.
They don't have it on the thing, but Klaus Brewing Dunkel Munich style dark lager, coming in at 4.8%. Says
Right, so it's not like it's a heavy dark lager, right?
no. It's just a dark lager. It's got a different flavor profile. We use only top quality German malts, hops, and yeast, along with traditional brewing and lagering techniques. Lagering means storing, and storing it at the specific temperatures will have an effect on how your beer turns out. And lagering techniques to bring authentic tasting German style beer to you. No shortcuts are taken, and no quality is sacrificed. Prost, it says.
So I feel like this. I don't even taste hops in this beer. I taste malt and yeast and maybe some grains, but mostly malt. But it is not exactly the same kind of malt flavoring as a lot of beers that I would think of as malt forward. This has a really different. I don't know if it's
not
the
a
grains.
sweet malt,
right?
It's not a sweet malt. It's more of a. If you think about like the way sweet malt is, a lot of times like think about chocolate that's sweet and chocolate that's not sweet.
Correct.
This is more of the not sweet chocolate. I mean, there's a tiny bit of sweetness to it. There's almost a tangy kind of thing going on, and
Especially
the hops.
on the finish, yeah.
The hops are there. They hop the beer, but that's evident in the finish of it. The crisp bitterness in the finish. That's like bitter in a good way, you know.
Yeah.
Not like that old bitter beer face commercial, but which was oddly funny. But
I sort of liked that commercial. Actually. I really did.
But yeah, the bitterness on the end definitely. I mean, you're gonna hop the beer. It's preservative and it bitters the end so that you don't get just a sticky sweet thing going on. But you're right. You don't really nose the hops at all. It's very malt forward. And a very different kind of malt from what you'd expect.
Right. This is different from, in its flavor profile, I think different from almost any other dark ale or lager that I've tried.
This would be almost closer to a little bit like a darker version of like the Oktoberfest or a Fest beer.
That's a good point.
But take away the sweetness.
Right. Because that's always going to have just that little bit of...
it has a little burnt caramel kind of to it as well, especially when you retrohale, when you breathe out gently through your nose after taking a sip, you notice it.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, while you were talking, while we were sipping this beer, I was able to find the original article from Half Wheel, which, by the way, if you're a cigar fan, Half Wheel's a great website. They do great reviews. They keep you up to date on cigar news. And in some way, I don't know how to say this without it sounding like I'm bagging on Cigar Aficionado, because I don't hate Cigar Aficionado, but somehow Half Wheel feels a little more credible to me. You know?
Half Wheel is just all about news. There's no opinions.
But they do reviews though.
They do reviews.
They
do reviews. But like when it comes to the cigar news and stuff like that, there's no. It's very unopinionated. It's just here's facts.
So the Half Wheel article about this Pennsylvania ban that we were talking about, if it goes through, was the one I'd looked at originally, and I just kind of found it again. And I want to read you the list that HB 1657, which is this bill in the Pennsylvania House, would modify Pennsylvania's existing Clean Indoor Air Act by removing a variety of existing exemptions that allow for smoking in or at. So, in other words, the following places
do you think that
would no longer be
do you
a
think
place you
that
could
private
smoke.
Clubs are contributing that much quote unquote dirtiness to the air?
It's not just private clubs. Here's the list: lodging establishments, so hotels, tobacco shops, workplaces of tobacco manufacturers, importers, or wholesalers, designated smoking areas of residential care and health facilities, private clubs, exhibition halls, conference rooms, catering halls, or similar facilities hosting events used exclusively for sampling tobacco products. So goodbye, like Big Smoke.
So,
or any of those types of
So
things.
it specifically says to close anything that's used for sampling tobacco. So
Right.
you can't sample tobacco anymore.
Drinking establishments, casino floors, designated smoking areas of outdoor sports or recreational facilities, and cigar bars. They
So if
left,
designated smoking areas aren't good enough, they're getting rid of those.
They left just one of the existing 12 exemptions in place in this bill, the one that allows for people to smoke inside of their own homes. And a lot of people,
How kind of them.
like me,
But not outside of your own
right?
home.
A lot of people
on
like
the
me, I
patio.
don't smoke inside my home. I'll smoke outside, like on the
That's
on
right.
the patio or down at the pool. But Yeah. So I don't know. It's just this kind of
You
stuff
go to
makes me
designated
crazy.
smoking areas.
Why would you ban smoking at tobacco shops and cigar bars?
Unbelievable.
Like,
Because you don't want the employees to be subjected to it.
well, but
That's literally what they're trying to stand on.
yeah, but come on, the employees at a cigar shop don't know there's going to be some smoke.
That's what I'm saying. That's
I don't get it.
crazy.
I want to know how the actual employees of these things in Pennsylvania are going to vote, because they certainly have to feel that it's going to affect their business. I mean, if you're serving, it's going to affect your tips.
But
It's
the
going to affect everything.
The problem with this is it's not up for a vote to the general public. It's up for a vote to the Senate and House of Representatives of Pennsylvania state government.
Wow.
And
Right. So the
that's-
only way to reach that is lobbying at this point.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And if you look back at what the cigar industry had to do, what people like Rocky Patel and the Cigar Industry Association of America and
Cigar Rights of
Cigar
America,
Rights of
oh, yeah.
America, right? All of those, the money and effort that they all put into place just to get premium cigars exempted from that. And you know how many years? It's been going on almost since we started the show.
Yeah.
It's been going on for years. And they finally prevailed. But the money and effort that it took, I mean, we all have to take our hats off to people like Trey Boring and Rocky Patel and people that lobbied on behalf of people who just want to be able to enjoy a cigar every
Well,
once
listen,
in a
man,
while.
when you do something that I don't think is good, I need to control that. Like, I just don't think you should
Yeah.
do that.
It's
way.
against my religion for you to have a cigar.
That's absolutely nuts.
It really is. It really is. Well, I will tell you, having a cigar might go rather nicely with this beer.
It does.
I got to figure. You know, what
This I have done before.
You know what this reminds me of a little bit is the cigar
Maduro.
Yeah, the Maduro, the brown ale that I'm blanking on the name of the brewery. Cigar
City.
Cigar City, thank you. Cigar City Brewing out of Florida. They have a brown ale called Maduro that's
Cigar
wonderful.
Town is where we were last week.
That's right. And by the way, I should say thanks to Daniel Goodwin from Cigar Town, who was a wonderful guest.
That was
and,
a lot of fun.
And provided us some great cigars to smoke, and we had a good time. And I had fun shopping in his humidor.
Yeah, it's a good humidor.
It's a good. In fact, I'm always looking for things that I haven't reviewed on the show before that I want to squirrel away in my humidor, and so I found several things that I hadn't smoked.
His
before, and
humidor
those were
is not big, but much like walking in and finding a really good jukebox. You know, it's just full of the right stuff.
Boy, the whole jukebox thing has changed now with
Yeah.
technology. I kind of miss the old way.
Well, being able to curate a playlist out of what you have to work with,
Yeah.
that's its own skill level,
Yeah,
you know?
it certainly is. It certainly is.
And it takes the personality out of a lot of those bars, too.
Well, it really does, because there'd be certain bars that would only have like metal records in their playlist, or only country records in their playlist, or whatever, and that was part of what sort of set the tone for what the bar was all about. And like you said, working within that curated list of available songs, yeah, that was always kind of fun. That was always kind of fun. So I miss that. Now that I can call up any song, anytime, anywhere in the world that I want, it does take a little bit of the mystery out of it, doesn't it?
Well, and it takes the fun out of it, that's for sure. And then you stand there with your analysis paralysis, because you're just staring at the thing going, it's kind of like when you used to walk into a record shop. You had 13 albums you wanted to buy, and you can't remember a single one the minute you walked into the record shop, right?
Do you realize there's a whole generation coming up under us here that will never understand how much fun it was to walk into the record shop?
Yeah.
You know, how much fun it was to look around, and even after things went CDs, you still could thumb through them. You could
thumb through
you
them,
could
you
pull
thought,
them out
"Oh,
and look
man,
at
I've
the
been meaning to
titles
buy
and the
this."
artwork and all. Yeah, I'm telling you. That there is something very fun about that. Now, I will admit, I'm not anti-technology. I do love being able to access anything. If you tell me, hey, I heard a great new song, it's by so-and-so, well, I can listen to it on the way home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of cool. I get it. But
I can hear Ray Stevens at any time.
Guitars in? Is that what you're going after?
The Streak.
The Streak.
The haircut song.
Oh my God! But my favorite was the one about the squirrel and the
squirrel went berserk.
Oh yeah, in the church or whatever.
Yes,
I cannot
love
believe this is Smoking and Toasted. We're talking about Ray Stevens songs. Oh my God!
Straight out of Coonsbury, Oregon.
We have just blown any level of hipness we ever might have established with our coolness on this show. So we'll have to build that back up with you in upcoming segments by trying out a triple IPA from Equilibrium Brewery, which we'll do. We'll tell you about some cigars to watch for, and then we'll destroy our credibility again a little bit later with drinking news. This is Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting, our show all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Still enjoying this Klaus dark ale. In fact, yeah, you might. The Dunkel is this is a very different tasting beer. Mm-hmm. It doesn't taste like other dark ales that I'm familiar with.
There's almost no carbonation to it at all either.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know.
So it's interesting.
It's very. So I'd say it's very flat, but that sounded negative. It doesn't seem to need the carbonation.
It doesn't. Yeah, it does. Like certain beers don't really need it, depending on where the flavor is, especially if you have flavor.
Are you familiar with the name Cifuentes as it relates to cigars? The Cifuentes family was the last owner of the Partagas factory in Cuba until Castro's Cuban Revolution there nationalized the cigar industry in the early 1960s. There was even a Cuban Cifuentes brand, and now, many decades later, Rafael Cifuentes III has decided to follow in the family footsteps and make a cigar of his own. So this is cigar royalty from the family that brought you the original Cuban Partagas, and he has created a new brand called Altezas Reales 1871. And it debuted in Florida. And according to Cifuentes, he says there's a little bit of what he considers to be the old Partagas taste in every cigar. So that might be something to look for. He said Cuban cigars used to be stronger. Now it's clear that cigars from the United States are much stronger than Cubans. My cigars, he says, are inspired by the Partagas cigars of the 90s, especially the Serie D number 4.
That is a great cigar.
Really, probably one of the best Cuban cigars you could ever smoke. I mean, there's some good ones. And, we've talked a little bit about Cuban cigars versus Dominican and Nicaraguan and Honduran and so on. And it's to the point where I don't know that Cuban cigars are necessarily better than the best of what Nicaragua or Honduras has to offer.
Well, I don't think so. I think this is the same kind of throwback as like back in the 80s and before, when like you could only get good beer in Germany. Right, or Europe.
Right.
And that's not true. Now they're chasing American beer styles, and that's not a dig by any means. It's actually brilliant.
Right, absolutely.
When Guinness starts making an American blonde ale, and it's good.
Yes,
like come on, that's kudos to Americans
for
making an amazing beer that they're going to follow that style.
Absolutely. It's kind of good for everybody.
And I think like with Cuban cigars, you get the same thing. You always have the mystique of, wow, the Cuban cigars are the best, and they probably were for a long time. Mm-hmm. But just like anything else, when you take that away and we can't get those Cuban cigars, we're going to seek out the best of whatever else we can. So Nicaragua, Honduras, and Dominican Republic, all these places have stepped up, and they're making amazing cigars.
Right. And I will say one other thing, and that is I don't know of any, and I could be wrong on this, so please, somebody, if you want to correct me, the email is st@rfcmedia.com. st@rfcmedia.com. But what I was going to say is that I don't know of any less expensive Cubans that I've ever had that I thought were good, or thought were really good.
Thought were really, really good. Yeah.
I have certainly had some very expensive Cubans that were outstanding.
Right.
And I've certainly had some very expensive Nicaraguans and other countries. But I've also had inexpensive Nicaraguan cigars and Dominican cigars and Ecuadorian cigars and Honduran cigars that were really quite good.
Well, let's
think that doesn't exist with Cubans.
Let's take some of the mystique out of the Cuban cigars. Cubans make great cigars, but they also make crap cigars.
That's right.
Just like Dominicans make great cigars. And I could
And
go
they
through
also
it, and they make
make
crap
cigars.
cigars.
Yeah,
And so does
100%.
Nicaragua, and so does Honduras.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
and the trick is when you find those great ones now, and again, for a long time, there just wasn't that much choice.
right.
And so Cubans were top of the rock. But now there's so much choice that, are they? Of course, they have that mystique. They have that thing. And yeah, like there's a definite, very specific Cuban flavor that you get when you get that real Partagas
but I'd
Serie
put-
D.
I'd
But does that
put
make that flavor better?
I'd put that up against like a Padron Anniversario, though.
Oh, 100%,
In terms of
yeah.
quality and how good of a smoke it is. I
Yeah.
totally put it
I had
up there.
I had last night. I sat out on my patio and had a Fuente Extra Viejo.
Dude, that's a great cigar.
So good.
So good. It's
So good.
absolutely. Well, anyway, we'll get more into that in the second hour of the show. And in fact, I just wanted to mention, because I know there are some of you who are listening on broadcast radio who have to leave us at the end of the first hour of the show. And I want to assure you, the second hour of the show is always the best hour. Always. it just is. So seek it out. You can find it at any of our podcast partners. You can find it at YouTube, or you could, you could always send your radio station email that says, hey, I want to hear the second hour of the show.
That's right.
Help us out, and maybe they'll schedule it. Who knows? Anyway, thank you for listening and being a part of the show if we're losing you here. One of the reasons second hour of the show is always the best, drinking news. And that's coming up, plus some Hooten Young
Hopefully,
whiskey.
they won't ban us for smoking on air,
Let's hope not. We'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting.
making your airwaves dirty with smoke.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And I just want to mention, by the way, my birthday was last week, and all I asked Ian for was one cigar. Just one cigar for my birthday. And so far, he hasn't come through. But I want one of those new Rocky Patels, what is it, the Conviction? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I want. It's only $100. You could you got that floating around.
It's true that I've spent more money on less substantial things.
Yeah, sure. I think we can all admit to that. While Ian is pouring our next drink, which is a triple IPA from Equilibrium Brewing, and poured a little of it on his phone. So while you take care of that, let me tell you about a few cigars that you can watch for. One of the more interesting lines of cigar that you can get online from JR Cigar is their Crafted By series. It's a budget line. It's among the most popular at JR, where the company features unique collaborations with some of the industry's finest manufacturers. So it's similar to what we got from Cigars International when they did the Oliva.
The Oliva,
exactly.
Nicolai
And that cigar is so good.
It
Oh
is
my
real
God.
good.
I almost want to stop talking about it because I'm afraid you guys will just buy them all up and there won't be
Right.
anything left for me. But in any case, this budget line is among the most popular at JR. They do unique collaborations with some of the best manufacturers, and their medium-bodied cigars are handmade in Nicaragua using aged Nicaraguan filler from Jalapa, Condega, and Ometepe, this particular line that I'm talking about. And they're bound together with a rich Connecticut broadleaf binder. So already, this sounds really good, right?
You're talking my language there.
And finish off with an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper. The result, they say, is a complex and flavorful cigar with hints of spice, tobacco sweetness, and a rich, creamy finish. And these are the Crafted By that is, and I left out of my notes here, I apologize. I left out the name of the Crafted By, but I will go and double check that for you during the break and bring it back to you. But anyway, people are very excited about these because it's a limited edition, one size. It's been available since September 13 and retails for $11.50 per cigar. It's a Robusto Extra size. It comes with a custom wax seal, wooden boxes of 10. Only $500 boxes were manufactured. So.
Okay.
Something to watch for. I'll get that name and I'll bring that to you. And I can't believe I'm going to utter this phrase since it's still, for at least a little longer, September. But just in time for the holidays, Oliva Cigars is releasing its Fantasy Advent calendar. And this year it'll also be available for the European market for the first time. Each and every door in the cigar calendar houses a spectacular Oliva hand-rolled cigar. I really want to get one of these. Maybe then I'll feel like it's actually holiday time.
It is not inexpensive.
Yeah, expect to pay a little over $200 for the year.
Yeah, because, but it is also 30 cigars, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm so excited. I really want one of these. I really, really want one of these. So I'm thinking of coughing up the money. Because think how great that would be, opening the little door every day,
Yeah.
and there's a cigar inside. Oh, I'm already so
And
excited.
not knowing
about
what
it.
it is, like you get the surprise.
Right. And I'm already so excited I can barely stand it. See, and the older I've gotten, the more I've missed the magic of the Christmas holidays that I used to enjoy so much when I was just a boy. You know, now it seems more commercialized, and it's just like, oh, it's just a thing, and it's the holidays and the mad rush, and got to go to all the parties. No, I think if I could focus on the true meaning of Christmas, which of course is cigars.
Cigars, yes.
If I could focus on that by opening up a little door every day,
You
and
know they
getting
never
not
show-
just a cigar, an Oliva cigar.
They never show pictures of Santa with his pipe or with a cigar anymore.
Oh, I know.
But they
He's
used to
not
be
allowed.
pretty common.
Yeah, that's verboten. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, he always had a cigar back in the olden days. Not a
pipe,
cigar, but
a
a pipe.
almost
Yeah.
always. Yeah.
Always had a pipe. Yep. In fact, isn't there a line about him having a pipe in that famous Night Before Christmas poem? A stump of a pipe
yes,
he had clutched in his teeth.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
his
yeah.
toes were all garnished with
Yeah.
a wreath or something like that. I don't remember. I didn't get that. I didn't get that exactly right, but he had gnarly toes apparently.
Now we have to burn that book.
Yeah.
And
But we
Frosty
can't
had
burn
a
it
pipe,
outside.
too.
Yeah.
But we can't burn it inside.
That's right. Yeah. So you'll have to burn it in your car.
You have to burn it,
That's
which
what you
is
have to
probably
do.
illegal as well.
And in addition to releasing the super expensive Conviction line, which okay, Ian, if you don't want to buy me a Conviction by Rocky Patel for my
All right,
birthday,
lay it on me.
he's also putting out something for those of us who are not quite so wealthy. It's a 2-cigar blend mixed filler release known as Seed to Smoke. Seed to Smoke is a mild to medium bodied offering that delivers cigars in the $250 to $395 range.
Oh.
How about that? These are bundled, obviously. There are 2 offerings, Shade, which is Connecticut Shade, and Classic, which is Maduro, each presented in 20-count bundles. So it's kind of like the yin to the yang. You know, Rocky's
I'm
balancing
definitely
out.
going to pick up some of those.
Yeah, and, you know, I'm always on the lookout for great El Cheapos.
Yeah.
Right. And when I say great, I don't mean that I expect them to smoke as good as
Right.
really expensive cigars, right? But if I can find some that are great for like running with the top down, you know, on the highway, you don't want to, waste a really good expensive cigar on that because you're not going to get the nuance and the flavor. But you want something that'll give you just good flavor. So I'm always looking for that humidor stuffer.
Yeah.
And I did try from Holtz. They had like the cigar mystery grab bag. Yeah, don't do that. That wasn't that
Not
good.
so good.
But I've had some though that have been pretty good, like the Rocky Patel Mulligans series.
Yeah, I remember you had those. Those
I
were-
reviewed one of those on the show, and I was like, I think I gave it like an 8.
Yeah.
It was so good
Like
for
bang
the price.
for the buck, yeah.
Yeah, so good for the price. So they do
Price
exist. They're
means
out
a
there.
lot, man. And if Rocky Patel's putting out something that's in the same neighborhood price-wise as Factory Smoke,
Right.
Which is one of my absolute go-tos.
I like Factory Smoke, but there's a singular flavor in it that I'm not crazy about.
So I get to where I get sick of them after a while.
Yeah.
Then I stay away from for a
I
little
was
bit.
the
and
same
then I come
way
back.
with Gran Habano. I used to buy Gran Habano a lot when I used to shop at Serious Cigars back before they were Casa de Monte Cristo, because they always had them. They were really inexpensive. They're very well made, and generally I liked it. But I got really burned out on the particular flavor of Gran Habanos. It was just something about it, or at least the ones that I was buying, that wasn't as good. But I got. Now there's so much more to choose from.
Yeah.
But you have to choose wisely.
You have to choose wisely. You're gonna have a few duds before you find
Yeah.
the good ones. But I'm pretty excited about that. I'm gonna totally try a Rocky Patel budget line cigar.
Seed to Smoke. Seed to Smoke.
We're
is what it's
definitely gonna
called.
go in there.
Yeah, we're definitely going to do it. All right, we are sampling a triple IPA from Equilibrium Brewing. I noticed you scanned the QR code on the Super Fractal
didn't
Julia
get it
set.
to
Did it
come
tell you
up.
anything? Oh, you can get it to come up.
No,
Okay.
I was trying to do that, and then I didn't quite get it to come up because it didn't have a whole lot of information on the can. It just says Super Fractal Julia Set, triple India IPA, coming in at 10.5%. So
It's-
this is.
that's a big IPA.
It doesn't taste real boozy though.
No, I was just about to say it doesn't. In fact,
Um,
I think it tastes really good. I mean, you can tell it's more than just a single IPA. That's for sure. But it doesn't come across like big and boozy in the same way you would expect a 10.5.
My phone just refuses to do this.
Very interesting. I don't know why.
Being weird. Oh wait, there it is.
You got it?
You got it.
Maybe it'll tell us why this is.
Yeah, I was trying to do this discreetly, but
It's okay.
it comes up with a thing that lets you like it on Facebook and ship beer to select states. Hey, that's kind of fun.
Yeah, except we're probably not one of the states. But
Thanks, TABC.
yeah.
Oh, Texas is on there.
Oh, well, there you go. So this is good to know. So Equilibrium Brewing, if you go to their website, I bet you can scan this from their website as well, and they will ship to Texas. And I'll tell you, this is a very, very good, very respectable brewery. They
got some 500 milliliter bottles on here that are looking pretty good.
They're based out of Middletown, New York, and Ian is now shopping. I just want you to know. He's now shopping.
Maybe I should put my phone down.
So I think the QR code worked on their thing.
Apparently
That's
it
exactly
did.
Thanks, COVID.
Apparently it did. Yeah.
Thanks, COVID. Remember QR codes were the thing for a while, and then no one used them at all.
Yeah. And now they've
Like
kind
they
of
died out
creeped back
immediately,
in.
and then when COVID came in, everyone started using them for the menus and stuff like
Right,
that, and
right.
now they're back everywhere again.
Which I got to say, this is just a pet peeve for me. I don't mind if you offer that as a convenience, but if my only option as your restaurant is to scroll through your menu on my phone, I will not be back.
yeah, that's frustrating in places that don't take cash.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine to me if it's an added feature. In other words, if I can scroll through your menu on my phone if I want to, but if that's the only way I can figure out what's on your menu, I won't be back.
It's gonna be a little frustrating.
And if you don't take cash,
especially when there's one like you scan it and it's a crappy menu viewing experience. I mean, if you're gonna do that, you need to at least make sure it's on point. Come on,
right?
people.
Absolutely. And why is it that once I finally got old enough and far enough along in life that I could actually afford to occasionally eat at a really nice restaurant, why is it that by that time my eyesight had devolved to the point where I can't read the frickin' menu because the print is so tiny?
You're making it smaller and smaller.
Oh my goodness!
It's kind of dimly lit in the place.
It's like, hey, listen, there's no 22-year-olds in here ordering dinner. It's all old people like me, and we can't read your freaking menu. Come on.
I went to a place at one point in time that actually had little things that you could go click and it would light up your menu. Like,
Oh.
I'm trying to remember where that was.
That is very
They had
smart.
like a little lamp there. I was like, that is clever. I love this, and I'll tip a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Little lamp and some cheater glasses.
Because that's the thing. Like, I got my glasses. I can read the small print, but I can't do it in dim light.
It's exactly.
Yeah,
I'm
the dim light
old.
is bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's exactly right. So, trying to look back through what we wanted to talk about on the program today, but one of the things that we want to get to, and we will do this, is dark ales. The 14 best dark ales that money can buy, according to an interesting list. So maybe we'll start on this. We may not be able to finish it in this.
Is one of them on this
segment.
Equilibrium site I'm looking through?
You found something interesting. Okay, all right. So let's just see what is listed here. So what they did is they went to different people and asked them for a list. So Christopher Osborne, which I'm not sure who he is, but he's on this. By the way, this is from a website called Man of Many. So might check that out if you're into those man websites. Yeah. Best dark ales at a glance. Best overall, he selects White Rabbit Dark Ale, which I have not had it, but
I haven't seen that.
that's a look at the picture there, Ian, and I can show that maybe to the camera. I don't know. White Rabbit Dark Ale. That was his best overall. Best English style, Mornington Peninsula Brown Ale. I'm not familiar with
That's
that either.
easy for you to say.
Best craft, Lord Nelson Old Admiral Dark Ale, which I've never had, but I really want to.
Sounds awesome.
Based on the title, I really want to. And finally, Cooper's Dark Ale was chosen best value for the money. White Rabbit is brewed with pale malt, wheat malt, German Munich malt, and dark crystal malt. And Cooper's Dark Ale is also, some of these look just really amazing. But I just wanted to show you the Old Admiral Lord. That's the Old Admiral Lord Nelson. I really want this.
That looks awesome.
Just based on the title and the bottle alone. Old Admiral from the Lord Nelson Brewery, Old Admiral Dark Ale. I absolutely love it. Its price is $84.99 for a 14-pack. That's, even for 14, that's a lot. That's Sydney's oldest continually operating hotel. Started in 1841. It's home to a hotel, bar, restaurant, and a renowned Brewery. So that's why it's so expensive. It's it's when they have to bring in. So this is a very interesting list. I suggest you peruse it at your at your leisure. Yeah. I'm sorry, I was distracted by the 8th one on the list. Your Mate's Donnie Dark Ale. We'll have to get back to that. It's Smoking and Toasting. We are all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And I dig, by the way, this Equilibrium Triple IPA.
There's still some more left.
I would love some.
Let's
Thank
fill
you.
that up for you.
Be right back. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And right now, I just want to issue a safety warning. Ladies and gentlemen, unlike most weeks where I take the extra step of clearing away the plastic from the top of our spirit and try to clear the neck so there'll be no chance of excess spillage, this week Ian is living very dangerously because I
almost got an abrasion on my finger from
I was
that.
worried there for a
I
second.
did not do those things, so I apologize. But of course, that also means that I have no idea what this whiskey is going to taste like. So I'm looking forward to trying it. This is Hooten Young. This is now, Ian. You met both Hooten and Young. You mentioned at the big. Cigar, not cigar, the big whiskey social.
The
I
whiskey
apologize.
social.
Which is a great thing, and I really miss our friend Chris Hart. We got to get him back on the show. I think.
Yeah, I'm working on that. He's got some funny days off, so
Yeah.
I need to get back together with him and figure out what day. We're going to have to come in on a different day for that.
I'm looking forward to having him back on because I always enjoy having him on the show. But it was at his event, the Whiskey Social, that you met both Hooten and Young. They are cigar guys and they are whiskey guys.
Yes. They gave me a cigar. We tried some of the whiskey they had, and I have good hopes for this. I mean, it's a GMP product. When you start a whiskey company, you can't immediately have an aged whiskey. So you have
And that's why so many of them, so many distilleries will start out by selling
you
a
have to-
vodka or a gin.
right
because it doesn't need to age.
So you can do that. But sometimes they'll source the whiskey and then they'll do their own treatment to it. So that's also very common. And
And also the blending of the whiskey. I mean, there is nothing wrong with blended whiskey if it's well blended, if it's curated well. Nothing at all.
Well, I mean, the truth is, like, blended whiskey in general is blended from, can be blended from different things. But like most whiskey you buy has some kind of like, even if it's an in-house blend, which they don't call blended whiskey,
Right.
But they're going to blend it from different barrels in the house to get the right profile and stuff like that. So I think blended as a term gets a little bit funny. This is American whiskey. This is not a blended whiskey as far as it says. This is Zinfandel cask finish. This wine barrel finish whiskey smoothly combines our 6-year American whiskey with red fruit and Asian spices of the Mauritanian wineries, Rockpile Vineyard, and Zinfandel, exotic, elegant, and smooth.
So Zinfandel is actually one of my favorite wine styles. It's a particular grape. It is not to be confused with white Zinfandel, which is what your Aunt Susan drinks. That comes in a box.
That's a fine February vintage.
Right, but but actual Zinfandel, I like it because it's got a little spice to it. It's not as big as like a Cabernet. It's not as light as a Pinot. It's somewhere like in between, but it's really flavorful. And I've always liked Zins because of their really upfront flavor. So to mature in a Zinfandel cask is to apply a lot of wine flavor, I would think, to this whiskey. And can you pick up any of that?
Well, so what I'm noticing is I was going to say it doesn't have a lot on the nose, but then I started kind of getting a little further into it. It does actually have a nose. It's just kind of a delicate nose, and it's a little bit of a fruity nose.
It's actually a fairly delicate whiskey when you taste it, too, I would say. Your thoughts, sir?
What's interesting?
Mm-hmm.
It's got some cinnamon, but in a very kind of like cinnamon bun kind of way, like not spicy cinnamon, like in a cinnamon sweet.
It's not like cinnamon on the tongue as much as it is more towards the back of the palate.
It's got a real sweetness to it, almost a powdered, sugary kind of sweetness to it. That's really good.
I want to continue
There's
to
a bubblegum thing going on.
Yes,
Wow,
for sure.
big time.
I want to continue to explore this a little bit when we come back, but we have to take a break. And when we come back, of course, we'll have to do drinking news. So I may need you.
I'm going to have to pour some more
That's
to do
exactly what I was going to suggest to get us through drinking news, so we can continue to talk about it on the other side. I love that sound. That sound is near and dear to my heart, and we'll be back to hear it again on this program where we do all of our own sound effects, ladies and gentlemen. This is Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back at Smoking and Toasting. Our show's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Yeah. So speaking of fine spirits, Ian, and we'll get back to this whiskey, but just your overall impression on the Hooten Young 6-year.
So the knee-jerk
Zinfandel
reaction is it's pretty good. Mm-hmm. It's I like the flavors. It's cinnamon bubblegum.
Yes,
a lot of
big
cinnamon
time.
bubblegum. And it's not super deep as far as the dimensions of flavor goes, but the flavors that I'm getting are really, really nice.
And I agree with you, cinnamon bubblegum. And if that sounds bad, it's totally not.
It's really good.
It's really, really good.
No, it's really good. It's good. I mean, don't get me wrong. It tastes like whiskey when you sip it, but then the retrohale and those things that you pick up after you breathe out, you start getting those, picking up those things. If I was going to make any pickiness on it, it's a little bit on the thin side on the palate, but it's really good. It tastes nice.
You know what I would recommend this for people who are trying to develop their palate and understand like what they're tasting and be able to name it and label it. You know, like if you're early, because the cinnamon and the bubblegum is so easy to pick out in this. And so it would be a good one to practice on, I guess.
There's also this roasted malty thing happen kind of right up front. It's interesting because this one, I think I agree. If you wanted to start training your palate, this one is kind of compartmentalized into like you get these flavors very distinctly. On the back of it says, "Our mission remains simple. We are committed to honoring America's heroes one thought-provoking sip at a time, discovered by Master Sommelier George Miliotes."
You know, it just occurred to me, and this makes total sense, being as these guys at Hooten Young, both Hooten and Young, are both cigar guys. This does seem like it would go really well.
Agreed.
With a cigar.
What was the price of this bottle?
I want to say it was around $46.
I have no problems with that. This might be one that I put on my shelf.
I could be off a little because I bought this a while back and just haven't opened it yet. But I want to say it was just a little under 50.
Let me understand something. You've had this bottle.
Okay, well, I'm not saying I
hadn't opened it.
I'm not saying I haven't had any whiskey.
Who are you? What have you done with the real
I'm not
cruise?
saying I haven't had any whiskey since I bought it. I'm just saying I hadn't opened this particular one.
So you and my wife have this thing in common where if there's an unopened bottle, that must be rectified.
Yeah, well, that's generally true. And then my wife has this thing where she likes nothing better than when we kill one. She loves
there's a certain satisfaction
making space in the bar. So if I am pouring the last of something, I always go, "Hey baby, look, empty going into the trash," and she gets really excited.
There's a certain satisfaction to the bottle kill.
Yeah, there is. And
it's like when you finally use up that last sliver of soap. You know, it's
like yes. Now I can get a whole new big bar of soap because this last little sliver is gone. Yeah, or the toothpaste. Like when there's still a little left, but you're like,
last little
there's still a little left, but you're like, screw it, I'm not doing this anymore. There's a new one in a box in the drawer. I'm going for that.
The tough topics here.
It's what we do. We do that, and we do a little thing called drinking news, and it's time for
drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. I love that particular one.
It's my favorite. That's my wife, by the way, and she doesn't talk like that. Like, I have no idea why she said it like that when I asked her if I could record her saying I had to take my gator to the vet for the show. And like, she doesn't talk like that at all, but that's how she did that, and I just absolutely love it.
Let me get my last note in.
Cheers, y'all.
There we go.
Drinking News is our segment on the program where we bring you a story that is often, but not always, about drinking, but it is always best enjoyed if you've been drinking. And one of the hardest lessons for the subjects of our stories here on Drinking News to learn seems to be that
I feel like I need to grab this
of
again.
proper perspective. In a world where we must make hundreds, maybe even thousands of decisions each day, perspective is the difference between hearing the words of the Grail Knight in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, "You have chosen wisely," and, well, winding up on Drinking News.
Danger, Will Robinson.
Yeah, exactly. So submitted as this week's example, the story of a Michigan woman.
I don't have.
You don't have a Michigan woman song, do you?
I don't have a jingle for Michigan.
Well, just do the Florida one.
Michigan woman.
Okay, very good. It's the story of a Michigan woman who found herself in a rather crappy situation recently
Uh-oh.
when she accidentally dropped her Apple Watch. Now, I have an Apple Watch. I'm wearing it today if you're watching on video, and I like it
It's
very
got
much.
those weird things on the side of it. I'm not sure what's happening there.
That's my
You
Tampa
may
Bay.
Just see if I can scratch
My
that off
Tampa
for you.
Bay Buccaneers. That's what that is. Yeah. I got it when Brady was there, and I just haven't gotten a new band yet.
I mean, you're obviously a fan because otherwise you'd
I'm
have
still
changed
rooting
it
for.
by
I'm
now.
still rooting for him. Sure. Anyway, I have an Apple Watch. I like it very much. Mine was a gift from my wife, and I use it constantly to tell time, to hit the reject button when spam calls come in that are probably trying to sell me some kind of bogus auto
Swiping
warranty.
left and right.
Yeah, and to get the watch's constant messages about how I am not exercising enough today, and I'm a complete and total disappointment to all of mankind, but especially to the watch. And yet I wear it all the time. And if I were to accidentally drop it, I'd most likely try to retrieve it in all but the most difficult of situations. Because you see, at 11 a.m. on Tuesday of last week, first responders were dispatched to the Dixon Lake boat launch in Treetops Village, Michigan. When they arrived, officers said they could distinctly hear a woman's cries for help coming from inside a large, red outhouse porta potty.
Oh.
The woman, who was not named in the report, but could most likely be identified by smell,
Michigan woman.
the woman apparently created a small disaster for herself when she dropped her Apple Watch into,
Slow down.
we'll call it the bowl.
Slow down a
Of the
minute.
porta potty.
What are you doing with your Apple Watch that you drop it into a toilet?
That's a very
Like, if your
very
Apple
good
Watch is attached to your wrist, as I assume your Apple Watch is attached to your wrist.
If I were sitting on the toilet right now,
How much?
no
do you
danger.
know?
No danger.
No danger.
No danger.
Now, also, there's a certain amount of my body that covers up the hole.
correct.
So how do you drop? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
This math you're doing.
I'm just trying to get the picture here.
Well, apparently
trying to
this,
figure out
this Michigan woman created a small disaster for herself when she dropped her Apple Watch into the bowl of the porta potty. Now, apparently, this Michigan woman was so desperate about having lost her watch to the murky brown and blue water that she lowered herself into the depths of the porta potty to try and retrieve it. Just let that sink in for a moment.
Oh my God, this is not going to get better.
I can't.
So-
I like how you said let that sink in, by the way.
Like quicksand.
So, things then quickly turned from bad to
I mean,
worse.
let me-
I'm sorry. I meant to say turd, not turd.
Okay, hold on. As I am generally a solution seeker,
Yes. Yeah, you're a fix-it guy.
if it's a porta potty, I mean, can't you tip that thing over?
Many have tried.
With people in them.
Yes.
I mean-
absolutely. Absolutely.
I saw
It's
the
happened.
bungee thing done on Jackass.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
But can't you tip that thing over and maybe like not have to lower
They
your
one time
entire body
catapulted
into
one.
it?
Yeah, you could.
Okay.
What
All
happened
right.
to just reaching in?
No, I don't have the same thought process as everybody. You know, and generally
Sure.
speaking, if I had an Apple Watch, it would probably stay attached to my arm.
Most likely, yeah. Well, as I was saying, things quickly turned, not turd, from bad to worse when the woman found herself stuck down in the, we'll just use the word bowels, of the portable outhouse. Yeah. Alice in Chains. Lane Staley's rolling over in his grave right now.
Exactly.
She's a woman in a box. I just used 2 Alice in Chains references.
That was good.
Buried. And I'm going to let you go.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. I wanted to say that. But
We knew where you were going.
Yep.
Or like the radio-friendly version says, buried in my spit. Yeah, it really does.
So bad.
But only a few people know what I'm even talking about. So we'll go on with drinking news. So the woman found herself stuck down in the bowels of the portable outhouse, and police were able to successfully remove the toilet from the outhouse structure. And then by using a hoisting strap, they were finally able to free her from the kaibo.
Oh, it's an outhouse, not a porta potty.
Well, it's a porta potty. It's an outhouse porta potty, yes.
Oh.
So kaibo, by the way, and this is true, is a word for outdoor toilet that dates back to the 1970s and is apparently, and I'm not making this up, an acronym for the phrase, keep your bowels in order. And while we're on the subject of toilet names, here's another drinking news true fact for you. The reason that some people refer to the commode as the crapper is because it was named after Victorian-era engineer and toilet innovator Thomas Crapper.
I actually knew that.
Thomas was his first name. I couldn't remember his
Who
first name.
says you don't learn anything by listening to Drinking News? But back to the story. The unidentified Michigan woman was successfully liberated from the murky depths of the porta potty, and according to one report, was so thankful that she tried to hug the EMS workers and police who were responsible for her rescue.
That would have been like a Benny Hill skit. Like, come here, let me give you a hug.
The hugs were refused.
Yes.
The police report does not indicate whether the woman was successful in retrieving her lost Apple Watch, although in researching this story, I was able to find a rather lengthy Reddit post about what to do if you flush your Apple Watch down the toilet. So if that's of interest to you, it's easy enough to find on online. In the meantime,
Apple Locate.
Why is that a thing?
there's a huge Reddit post on this. Huge.
Like,
what do you call it? What do you call it on Reddit? It's not a channel. It's a thread.
Yeah, thread.
It's a huge Reddit
Just
thread.
wear your watch.
Yeah.
You know, put it on in the morning, take it off at night, and
Yeah.
don't do any of that near the toilet, people. Like, this is not difficult.
In the meantime, Smoking and Toastin' will now provide for you, because apparently there's a need for this type of thing, a user's guide for porta potties. A, always close and latch the porta door before getting down to your business.
Yeah.
B, try really hard not to think about what's lurking in the depths below while you're inside. C, as a general rule, do not take off your watch, jewelry, or other items that you value while sitting on the porta throne.
I mean, is that what it is? Like, you have to have your watch off to make your squeezy face? Like,
Yeah.
what's going on there?
Is that what those hooks are in there for? You can hang your coats and your watches and stuff.
And finally, D, if
I can't go to the bathroom with this jewelry on.
And finally, D, if someone is waiting to enter the outhouse when you're coming out, always make sure to say something friendly like, "Man, I never should have eaten that Frito pie." or even that old standard that you used repeatedly on your roommates back in college. Do not go in there.
See, I'm usually the guy on the outside, and I just say things like, "God sees what you're doing."
Reporting live from Michigan, where this story can only be described as craptacular. My name is Cruz, and that is your...
Drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Brings new meaning to the words Hooten Young, didn't it? Cheers, y'all.
Thank you.
Oh, so I will say this, Ian. This whiskey is, I mean, I didn't dislike it at all. In fact, I liked it very much from the first sip. But the more I just kind of slowly sip this, the better the flavors get to me.
It's really good. I bet it opens up nicely with a little ice or water.
Oh, I bet that.
If you want to make a cocktail.
That's what you
out
call a 2-ingredient cocktail.
of it. That's right.
I like
Whiskey?
it.
with ice.
All right, so now we're talking about one of your other very favorite things, which is a barley wine. In this case, Collective Comprehension, a coconut barley wine.
Oh.
Talk to me.
You know how Slap Your Mama seasoning got its name? Mm-hmm. Dang. Somebody got their toes in this. This is...
Okay, so just for clarification, when he says somebody got their toes in this, I immediately do not think this is a barley wine that I would enjoy. I just want to say that because that doesn't sound appetizing to me at all.
You got to live in Southeast Texas for a while to get that statement.
Yeah, I got it. I understand what you're saying, but not everybody does. So perhaps you should clarify, sir.
It's dang good.
Yeah.
So.
But for clarity, no one put their toes in the barley wine. Just so we're clear. So what is
So this is an English style barley wine ale aged in bourbon barrels and finished with toasted coconut and almonds. And I have to tell you, it's freaking delicious.
Okay, well, we'll be back to talk about it more because this is one of those things. A coconut barley wine from Bottle Logic. These guys totally know what they're doing, and this is delicious, and we'll tell you more about it when we come back at Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back at Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And I feel like, Ian, by bringing this in and having it on the show here, I feel like I've made a friend for life now with you. You're just you were just really enthusiastic about this.
A couple things about this. Bottle Logic Brewing, Anaheim, California, in the USA, joint mission, common space. It has a viscometer on it, which you don't usually see, the viscometer.
Which is dealing with the viscosity of the brew.
And this is 7 out of 10.
Oh, wow. That's pretty viscous.
It is pretty viscous, I must say. I will also mention that if you find yourself with a bottle of this and you spill it on the table, and you set something on top of it, it will never move from that spot again, right?
Well, so on the viscometer, 10 would be like motor oil, right?
I think 10 is just a solid object.
Oh, okay. Very, very good. So this is a 7 out of 10. Right. Now, I did a little experiment while we were in the break. I had some of this delicious Collective Comprehension barley wine, and then I went back to my whiskey.
Really?
From Hooten Young with the Zinfandel cask finish. I'd be curious to see what you think.
Oh, that's interesting. It knocks out all of the wine thing.
And the bubble gum, too.
And the bubble gum.
But the cinnamon is still there.
The cinnamon is solid, but now it's cinnamon and coconut in my mouth, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing at all. In fact, anyone who has ever... let Terry have a little more of the whiskey so he can try it.
Yeah.
Anyone who has ever had a coconut macaroon will understand that whole cinnamon and coconut thing is that's a thing.
Serve at 58
totally
degrees. We're probably actually not too far from that on this. Store at 40. No sunlight. Pairs with La Mancha Manchego.
Oh, I bet it does.
Pineapple coconut shrimp. Can you imagine that?
Oh, wow. What a great thought.
Chocolate espresso meringues.
Mm-hmm. Well, these guys at Bottle Logic, it's been a while since we had any of their stuff on, but we have had some before. And these guys are like alchemists, basically, when it comes to brewing.
It says, if you have knowledge, let others light their candles in it. Batch 001, release date 2022. So this has been sitting for a little bit, and it is delicious. Do you know what this is coming in at?
In terms of ABV?
Yeah.
Tell me.
It's a paltry 15%.
So we had, how much was the IPA? Was it like 10%?
10, yeah.
So we had a 10, we had a 15. And
this almost seems like one of my shows.
Yeah, I was going to say I've been following in your footsteps here, and this has been.
We started with a light like 4.8, and then we went straight to 10, and then 15.
We only have a minute left, but explain to people who may be hearing our show for the first time or who aren't familiar what barley wine actually is. Because a lot of people think, is it a wine? Why is it a beer?
No, barley wine is a style of beer, but it is malty. It is so malty that it mostly turns people off because it's sticky. It's like
Ian loves malty brews, and so that's the reason this is one of his favorite styles.
I love malt so much, but when I'm talking about malt, we're talking about like, have you ever had a traditional malt and you get the little powdered malt chocolate balls stuck in there.
Like a malt ball? Yeah.
Malt. Anyway, and it's just incredibly malty. It's incredibly sticky. It's one of the sweetest kind of beers you can get. It has a viscosity somewhere close to like ridiculous mead and a honey kind of viscosity.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And it's generally pretty high in alcohol as well. Now, I will drink this floating down the river. I have no problems with that in the middle of summer. This does not bother me, and I don't know why people associate those things. But man, this stands up no matter what you're doing, and also it's thick enough to where if you put a spoon in it, it will stand up kind of on its own.
It'll have a spoon stand up too.
One of the things we love to do with our because we always on our show we always do the spirit fairly close to the end of the show, and then follow it with whatever our biggest beer is, generally speaking. And so it's always interesting to go back and forth between those two once we've got both of them poured. And in this case, I think it works.
So it works in both directions, really. The whiskey really comes out as cinnamon and coconut, and then when you go back to the beer after the whiskey, the coconut stays there, but you get a little less sweetness up front. And also, in general, these are not carbonated very much. There's very little carbonation in them.
Now, American-style barley wines will have a little more carbonation.
It's going to have a lot of hops on the back end, which is, by the way, terrible.
Generally speaking, we don't like those as well. Either of us. And I'm a hops guy. But I want my hops in IPAs and
I just think that's kind of a bad blend.
It's
just like scotch and mayonnaise. You probably shouldn't do it.
They're both good things.
Yes, but not together.
Necessarily together.
Not together.
One of these things is not like the other. One of these things just don't belong.
Just don't put those two things together.
I just want to take a moment to thank everyone who has kept this show on and going and made it a success for all of these years. Thanks to Adam in the Cloud, our executive producer. Thanks to Mary, who put together the booking on the show for the longest time. Thanks to Terry, who's our engineer, who has yet to ban any episodes from being posted.
And we haven't run them off yet.
Yeah, we haven't run him off yet. And he's enjoying the samples, I think. But most of all, thanks to you guys, because you listening and checking us out on video, you're what keeps us going on Smoking and Toasting. And we want to keep going because, quite frankly, we enjoy sampling these things.
Samples.
It's what we do. Have a great week, everybody. Enjoy it. Happy birthday to me. And cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.
Yeah, you never listen to what anybody else says. Such a stubborn one.